Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to this week's episode of The Global Guys. Today, we're joined by Kevin Smith from WorldPay. So, Kevin, over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the company you work for.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kev Smith from WorldPay by FIS. WorldPay is the #1 global acquirer, processing around about 40 billion transactions per year. We operate in 146 countries, serving 126 currencies, and we have about 300 payment types available for you. We help businesses on and offline grow and expand their reach.
Wow, that's some reach. So how have you found the payments world change in the last 10 years and develop from being based in Somerset, but also say from a city point of view as well, and a global scale?
Yeah, so payment industry, if we go back a little bit further than 10 years, payment industries changed massively. If we think back in 2006, 55% of payments were made by card. That's now risen to 78% and growing now, especially with what's going on at the moment. What card payments have done for people is it's made them it's allowed them to do transactions quicker, easier, and more secure. So if you think pre-card dates, if you walked into a restaurant, coffee shop, or retail outlet and you had £10 in your wallet, the maximum you could ever spend was £10, unless you got out the good old checkbook. So it's taken price out of the equation. When you walk in, you probably know yourself, you go and buy a coffee, you're now not thinking about how much have I got, you're thinking about how much do I want? What extras can we get? And that's what it's allowed people to do. And that ability to do the upsell. Back in 2006, we saw the introduction of chip and PIN, which put security on the roadmap, and contactless coming in shortly after in 2007. I think payments really took its kind of biggest turn in 2014 when contactless became widely available, with it really hitting up so card payments over cash transactions in 2018. With the help of contactless and Apple Pay in between, doing all of that. Now we're seeing payments across the globe. We're seeing e-commerce in particular, with everything going on being a trend that's kind of here and growing, and it helps business with that reach.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see the stats on card payment against cash in the last sort of 3 months, because I know, well, one, half the time I don't know where my wallet is, and two, like I went out yesterday with my wife and kids. I mean, we parked in a car park that only took cash in the, like the dispenser, and it was a little bit like, what's cash again?
Yeah,
funny money we need to put in there. So it must have changed dramatically, and continuing to, as you said.
Yeah, we've seen the major rise has been in mobile wallets. So obviously at the start of the pandemic, contactless was increased to £45, which is a massive help. Mobile wallets, generally, depending on the retailer and the outlets, they can go a lot higher. So we've seen mobile wallets really take off over the last couple of months. And a trend is, now that people are getting used to using it, it's a trend that's just going to carry on growing.
Yeah, definitely. So on that point then, do you think with mobile wallets, contactless payment, Apple Pay, all these being so easily and readily available, that this could be the end for cash?
I'm going to say no. I think cash is always going to be here. It's a commodity we do like to pay with. There still is, generations that do and will always pay with cash. I think what it has done, though, is it has made people think, and I think that's what we're going to see. It's physical contact with something. So cash, I think people are going to be a lot more wary. I think they're going to be open now to pay with cards. So we're going to see. I think we'll see that across a lot of industries grow. So the contactless and the cards and that. But I don't think we'll ever see the end of cash. There's always going to be a need for it.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those ones, isn't it, where you just think, like, even going to the cash point, it must be so rare. And even living here in the city, I find that I'm still struggling to actually find cash points. Whenever
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah, you're struggling to find cash points, and that's why, like you said, with the ease of, obviously, with the wallet and stuff, is that can obviously change. So where do you see the future holds for sort of like from a buying side of things and from a payments? Because, you know, obviously with your role, you know, it's a lot of online payments and a lot of and EPOS as well. So where do you see that future growing if the cash is still going to be around as well?
I think it's still going to be here, but we're going to see definitely more growth, I think, in mobile wallets. I think one thing that seems to be kind of coming out around now is virtual cards. So we're going to see, like, you know, if you're going to go abroad, if you're going to do big spends, instead of having it come out of your bank account or your main credit card, you'll siphon off and you'll open up this virtual card that you can then use, which will put an added layer of security on top. So I think, you know, it's so difficult to predict where it's going to go, but, you know, mobile wallets definitely. Certainly, if you're looking to grow on the e-com side, you're probably looking at something called alternative payment methods. So that's where other countries, they don't use them, Visa and MasterCard like we do. They have these alternative payment methods out there that people can make those payments. We know that if you're looking to do that global reach, about 33% of your customers will switch off from your website if you don't have the right payment method in place. So it's those things that I think people are going to have to kind of take into consideration. And I think looking at the EPOS markets on a local level, people are wanting that unified experience now. So they want to start their order off online or start their order off in store, and they want to finish it wherever they want. I think there's a lot of learns, I think, will come out of the last couple of months on how people are going to trade and transact and what that customer experience really looks like, because we have a particular way that we want to be served. And as retailers and hospitality businesses, we need to get on board with those ways that the public want to interact. That experience is becoming so much more crucial, and the payment side of that is part of that journey.
Just to add to that a little bit, what do you think about cryptocurrency? Do you think that's going to come in and have a place, or is it going to continue to sort of stay on the fringes and not really happen?
I think it's a really difficult one, isn't it? It's about trust to really hit mass market. I think it's going to stay on the fringes. It's going to have its place, but in order for it to become mass market, you know, we've still got people out there at the moment that fear going online for their banking, or fear using debit cards because it might get lost, or, you know, contactless. You know, it's what happens if someone steals my cards, you know, that's £45 someone can use. Well, there's measures in place to stop that. What happens if you drop £100 on the street? Because there's no trace and trackability on cash, is there? Yeah. So there's kind of two sides to that one. So I think it'll be interesting developments kind of going forwards. We're certainly seeing things like pay by bank apps coming out, so where you can make the transaction in real time. So you've still got the point of sale, but it flows through the banking system rather than the normal card scheme system. So I think you'll start seeing that push forwards and start emerging. I think over the coming years that will be the next, I think, big thing.
Well, I've noticed as well a little bit lately when I've been doing a little bit of online shopping is everything seems to be available on credit. Like even if you're buying some dog food off Amazon, it says, do you want to make 6 monthly payments of $2.99, whatever it is. Definitely feels a little bit different.
So is that linked to your, is that linked to the virtual card that you were mentioning? Is that something do they link together?
That's a slightly different way of doing it. So what's that effectively doing is basically it's just allowing whatever amount you do to be taken in really simply 3 or 4 or maybe six stage payments. So it's not using the virtual card. There's a company out there called Klarna that's very good at bringing that to SME level, and it just takes that sting out of, you know, you're going to buy something for £1,000. We've got your details. It's securely tokenized at card processor level, so it's absolutely safe and secure on that front. Instead of paying it up front, it's actually why not break that down into a couple of transactions? It's really quite easy to do, but really powerful for the retailer.
You would think though that with everything that's happened over the last 3 months and potentially revenue not coming in, especially to potentially retail side of things, that they would want the money straight away in a way, you know. And so it's interesting to obviously with what you said, Mark, that they would be offering those payments where you would, because, you know, I'm not saying that obviously that people do, but, you know, if you get into some sort of difficulty or what have you in 3 months, only made 3 payments, or suddenly the card, you've, you know, lost the card or declined the card or walked away from it, then that risk is obviously with that retailer, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a slight bit of risk, but it doesn't quite. It's not like you're setting up a standing order that you can then control it. It is an agreement. The details are stored. Both parties of the transaction are aware of what agreement's being made. So, you know, it's not as if it's exposing the retailer to any unknown kind of risk.
Good.
I was going to say that's really interesting, and definitely some changes potentially afoot with the payment and buying industry, and some trends already changing. So moving on to some less serious questions. This is one of our favourite questions to ask, because we do get quite a few different answers that are completely unexpected. Although season 2 has had a bit of an underlying trend, I think we're going to have a successful little restaurant starting up soon. But
yeah.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Ooh, that's I've got to say I'm kind of like a budding musician as well. So if I could go and play, I play bass guitar. So if I could play bass guitar out there, it's a completely different to what I'm doing now. But constant throughout my life is whenever. It's a total chill out and zone out and de-stress and completely takes your mind away from it. So yeah, if I had to go into something else, I'd want to go completely different. So yeah.
What you've got to elaborate then on that. What sort of genre would you say that you would put yourself into, Kev? Would you be in an orchestra type band, or would you be growing that hair and having it pierced everywhere? And yeah.
You're not liking my COVID cut then. Rock and pop. I mean, my chosen genre of music's rock, but you know, I do like bringing the rock influence to pop as well. So you know, you got this nice heavy under driving bass that cuts through everything. Good.
Well, we'll have to watch this space to see if. You start putting any Apple Music or Spotify songs out there, so that'll be good.
Was there a new theme tune?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we might do. Who would you say have could you name 3 people that have been influential during your career? Again, we had a running theme on one individual, one person throughout Series 1, and it's sort of continued in Series 2. So 3 people have influenced your career.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm going to go for. So the first person I think that really influenced my career was a guy called Mark Porter when I was in Lloyds Bank. He basically taught me that if you had a skill and ambition and you put yourself out there, kind of things would happen. Or if you just sat there in the back and you were just nothing, and then it wouldn't. So you kind of made your own luck. Really on that one. Next one would be kind of Lisa Ward, which was a manager when I was with Santander. We used to have some very interesting customer meetings, and then have a very deep debrief. And quite often she would pick up on the minute amount of detail, and she would go, "So when you did that, what do you think the customer thought on that?" And it really used to really make you think about what you were doing, how you were saying those maybe habits that you have when you kind of like turn the pen or put a lid on. So he goes, "Do you realise that for 30 times you took the lid off, put the lid back on?" He goes, "You did that?" And it's just like, really? No. So he goes, "What do you think the customer?" So the challenge out from that of perception of what people think from you, it's just like, okay. So that was quite good. So quite influential as well. And I think the last one was my previous boss, Simon Howe. It is kind of like, look, you got to have a game plan. You've got to know what you want, where you're going, and then you've almost got a steamroller to kind of get it. because no one's just going to give you something on a plate. If you want something, you've got to know what it is and you've got to go after it. So that was, I found that kind of quite useful. So I did. And that's how I kind of ended up with WorldPay, I think.
Good.
So that kind of leads nicely into our last question. So as you know, the show's called The Global Guys. So every guest we have on, we ask them who their favourite global guys. We've had Paul, Beckham, me. I don't think we've had Tom yet.
No, we haven't had me.
So who's your favourite global guy?
See, that's a really difficult one, because I was actually going to say Tom, because after hanging up here, if I didn't say Tom, I would have got a load of messages, Facebook, WhatsApp, and kind of going, "What about me? What about me?" So I kind of feel I'm a little bit forced to kind of go with you, Mark.
Brilliant! That is brilliant. Thanks ever so much for that. That's 3 now, and that is absolutely brilliant. So yes, I can't wait to start sending those messages. I've actually drafted them all up as well, so
yeah, like that.
That'll be good. Kevin, well, thank you ever so much for joining us today. For those of you that are listening, watching, all of Kevin's details will be featured here. Really interesting episodes about the future of payments and buying. It's going to be so interesting to see how the industry reacts, how the industry changes and develops, and what the future holds. And I think it's going to be fascinating to see. As we mentioned, Kevin's details will be across all our platforms. Please listen to us on Apple, on Spotify, and download and be in contact. So from one half of the Global Guys, Kevin, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Being as he's 3-0 down, I'll join in.